Hello and welcome to another episode of the Course in Miracles inspired podcast, May the Course be with you, where I, Leon Joel Russell, get to speak to the people that I love about the system that we love. Steve, how are you?
Oh, great, mate. Good to see you again. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Always.
Yeah, I'm glad we decided to talk about the hero of the dream. That's one of my favourite pieces, that is. I'll just tell how I came to latch onto that. I've read it a few times in the book, of course, but in one of Gary Reno's books, he's got three that I've got. I'm not sure which one it is, but the Ascended Masters advise him to read the hero of the dream once a month. And I thought, well, that sounds like a good idea. But me being a bit of an extremist, I decided to read it once a week. And I'll be doing that for some time. So I'm quite familiar with it. And
Wow.
to me, as an overall description of what actually the course is all about, it's a pretty good synopsis within the book. So that's why I said let's have a look at it.
Perfect,
Anyway,
because that was going to be my first question is like, why does this section speak to you to that degree?
oh, I must have had a premonition and answered it before you asked me. Well, that's why, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like at the time, like when I read it, obviously the most popular bit from it is a bit where they say about the tiny mind idea, because that's in that
Mm,
chapter. So obviously it's a pretty well known one,
yeah.
but to get the full nature of what that actually alludes to, you have to sort of like read the whole chapter, I think, which we're going to do,
Mm,
and we'll go from there.
yeah, well, I look forward to your concise and always so, accessible descriptions because of you cut to the chase and get to the simplicity of what's being said behind all the poetry, which I think's so powerful and helpful.
Oh yeah.
So I said to you, I think it's probably a good idea to look in the course when it says, what is the body? Because the course symbolism in its own language, it's a good starting point to just refresh ourselves with what is actually meant by the body in course speak. So in this section in the workbook, it says the body is a fence that the Son of God imagines he has built to separate parts of himself from other parts. It's within this fence he thinks he lives, to die as it decays and crumbles. For within this fence he thinks that he is safe from love. Identifying with his safety, he regards himself as what his safety is. How else could he be certain he remains within the body, keeping love outside? The body will not stay, yet this he sees as double safety, for the Son of God's impermanence is proof that his fences work and do the task that his mind assigns to them. For if his oneness still remained untouched, who could attack and who could be attacked? Who could be victor and who could be his prey? Who could be victim? Who the murderer? And if he did not die, what proof is there that God's eternal Son can be destroyed? The body's a dream. Like other dreams, it sometimes seems to picture happiness, but can quite suddenly revert to fear, where every dream is born. For only love creates in truth, and truth can never fear. Made to be fearful, the body must serve the purpose given it, but we can change the purpose that the body will obey by changing what we think that it's for. The body is the means by which God's Son returns to sanity. Though it was made to fence him into hell without escape, yet has the goal of heaven been exchanged for the pursuit of hell. The Son of God extends his hand to reach his brother and to help him walk along the road with him. Now is the body holy. Now it serves to heal the mind that it was made to kill. You'll identify with what you think will make you safe. Whatever it may be, you will believe that it is one with you. Your safety lies in truth and not in lies. Love is your safety. Fear does not exist. Identify with love and you're safe. Identify with love and you're home. Identify with love and find yourself.
That is a lovely piece of prose. It really is. What I take from that mainly, though, is that mind and body, see, it talks about, it tends to suggest, well, people tend to think that the mind and the body are the same, like we are mind and body, and the mind is in the body, like it's in the brain, and so it's part of the body. It's not. The mind is separate from the body. And it's like when we die, the mind don't die, the body just dies, and your mind's just left there somewhere else. I mean, it's the main trouble with this world. Everybody's afraid of dying. They've been taught to fear death, when really it's nothing. It's just getting out of the body, like climbing off a roller coaster. you know. But as that describes there, it's like it keeps you afraid and it keeps you trapped inside the body, inside this meat suit, as some refers it to, and you're trapped inside it. But the trick there, the goddamn trick is that your mind is actually not part of you, yet it's kidding you that it is part of you. You know, the mind, I, Stephen Dean is a mind and a body. I, as Nisargadatta told me, am the supreme being. You see?
Yeah.
And that's what I follow. That's a great. I mean, I love that book. I love Course of Miracles. I might wondrous, wondrous tome. But having followed the Nisargadatta now, I'm finding all sorts of things that connect with it, all
Mm,
these affirmations,
mm,
and that bit about I am the body. Well, I'm not really,
mm.
and it's just getting people to understand that.
Well, let me just pull in a bit of our dear friend Nisargadatta then before we jump into the hero, because again, I've earmarked something which I thought was completely on point and sets the tone. So somebody asks Nisargadatta, they say, I feel that my hold on the body is so strong that I just cannot give up the idea that I am a body. It will cling to me as long as the body lasts. There are people who maintain that no realization is possible while alive, and I feel inclined to agree with them. Nisargadatta says, before you agree or disagree, why not investigate the very idea of a body? Does the mind appear in the body or the body in the mind? Surely there must be a mind to conceive the I am the body idea. A body without a mind cannot be my body. My body is invariably absent when the mind is in abeyance. It's also absent when the mind is deeply engaged in thoughts and feelings. Once you realize that the body depends on the mind, and the mind on consciousness, and consciousness on awareness, and not the other way round, your question about waiting for self realization till you die is answered. It's not that you must be free from the I am the body idea first and then realize the self. It is definitely the other way round. You cling to the false because you do not know the true. Earnestness, not perfection, is a precondition to self realization. Virtues and powers come with realization, not before.
Nice, nice. I like the way Nisargadatta always used the word earnestness, which
So
just really means deadly serious. If you're doing something in earnest, you mean it, you're going to do it. I mean, it's seriousness. And what he's more or less saying, he keeps coming back to that. They say, well, what about if I do this and what about if I do that? Yeah, you can do that, but do it in earnest. Do it seriously.
mean it.
That's what he says there. If you want to find out, you've got to be in earnest. You can't play at this. You've got to sort of like, if you, well, you can play at it, I suppose, but it'll take a very, very long time. If you keep dipping your foot into the water, you're never going to learn to swim. You've got to jump in sooner or later, haven't you? you know.
That's, I guess, why suffering's such a huge driver for most people. And like I've said to you before about Rupert Spira,
Yeah.
someone said to when someone asked Rupert Spira about his audience as such, and he just said, 90% of people who come to the path of self-inquiry do so from suffering. There's only 10% of people who literally go, "Oh, what's that all about then?"
Oh, yeah. Just 1 second, just 1 second, honey, picking up the music over here.
I can't hear any music.
Oh, you couldn't hear it. Oh, you couldn't hear any. It's all right. I thought it was being picked up. I'm so sorry about that because I just, in doing so when I heard that, I didn't hear what you just said. I'm so sorry. Could you say that again? I'm so sorry.
No worries, yeah. I was just saying about Rupert Spira, and we're talking about earnestness, and interestingly, in the course, it's called the little willingness, isn't it? It's just like
Yeah.
you only need to have a tiny little bit of willingness, and then the doors open, and spirit rushes in to carry your endeavors. But like you say, Nisargadatta uses earnestness and the drive of earnestness to make sure that you pursue your goal of awakening to the self. And then, as a driver, an initial force that initiates that process. Rupert Spira would say, from his observations of his audience, that 90% of people who come to him come from suffering was their cause, to actually look at the process of self-inquiry, rather than only 10% of people kind of come to it as a point of interest, like something to just have a look at and consider. So I think, we do need that. If you're going to deconstruct yourself and all the ideas that you've ever held about yourself and life, it doesn't really want to be just like a flight of fancy, does it?
Well, not really. It's like another thing. Nisargadatta, flight of fancy. Well, he said like a lot of in that book, Nisargadatta's book, lots of people come to see him, and it is because they're suffering. And he also says in there that people don't realize they have a choice; they just suffer. And the very first step towards freedom is when someone tells them there's such a thing as enlightenment. Like there is such a thing. You do not have to be here. Now, whether they believe that or not, suddenly a gate opens should they wish to walk through it. You know, you can pursue this.
Mm,
Most people have got no idea that they can wake up to God, wake up to a truth. Most
mm,
people have no idea. And
mm,
and if you talk to them about it and they're not on that wavelength at all, they'll just poo-poo the whole thing. But for someone who's suffering and someone says you don't have to be suffering, there is a way out, their ears will open up and they'll start to follow that path.
yeah,
You see, it only needs for some, the beginning, just to be told it actually exists.
mm,
You know, it's a simple thing, really.
yeah. Very nice, mate. Do you want to start us off with this beautiful chapter there? Or it's not chapter, this beautiful section. Do you want to?
Okay, I'll read this bit. Okay, the hero of the dream.
Mm,
The dream is the central figure in the dreaming of the world. There is no dream without it, nor does it exist without the dream in which it acts as if it were a person to be seen and to be believed. It takes the central place in every dream, which tells a story of how it was set, how it was made by other bodies, born into the world outside the body, lives a little while and dies, to be united in the dust with other bodies dying like itself. In the brief time allotted it to live, it seeks for other bodies as its friends and enemies. Its safety is its main concern. Its comfort is its guiding rule. It tries to look for pleasure and avoid the things that would be hurtful. Above all, it tries to teach itself its pains and joys are different and can be told apart. Now, that first part of it, that first paragraph, is establishing that the body is the central figure in the dreaming of the world. You see, it tells the story of other bodies. It actually that first paragraph describes who the hero of the dream considers himself to be.
mm,
To begin with, I'm the hero of the dream, and what I've just read out is the part which where he establishes to us in the book what he actually is. So we're beginning to understand who the hero of the dream is.
mm.
Do you want to read the next paragraph, or shall I carry on with
Yeah,
it?
sure.
That's The dreaming of the world.
Yeah. So the dreaming of the world takes many forms because the body seeks in many ways to prove it is autonomous and real. It puts things on itself that it is bought with little metal discs or paper strips the world proclaims as valuable and real. It works to get them, doing senseless things, and tosses them away for senseless things it does not need and does not even want. It hires other bodies that they may protect it and collect more senseless things that it can call its own. It looks about for special bodies that can share its dream. Sometimes it dreams it is a conqueror of bodies weaker than itself, but in some phases of the dream, it's the slave of bodies that would hurt and torture it.
Yeah. Describes well the senselessness of it all, really, like, what normal life is on earth. The falling asleep and waking up, the falling asleep and waking up. I've got to get some money, I've got this money thing, this whole system has been introduced into the world where it's become like, didn't some ancient religion have a god of money, Mammon?
Oh,
Mammon,
I
I
don't
think it's
know.
mentioned in the Bible actually, Mammon, the money god. But anyway, like, the god has become the sort of god of the world. And, whenever, it's like, say, I don't want to get into the history of things, but a Western civilization and going back over the centuries took over a world. The first thing introduced was commerce and money, sort of taking stuff and selling it and buying it. You see, this stuff about, but it talks about the ridiculousness of that situation by saying we pay for it with little metal discs and paper strips that world proclaims as valuable and real. And also there's lots of rows of little dots, little noughts on a computer screen. There's a one with six noughts after it. I'm a millionaire. Right. It's the whole thing is all based on this material, like, like they're discovering now that supposedly, I don't know, but the gold in the world that isn't all where it's supposed to be, so they're panicking that the money isn't worth anything because the gold, which was never seen anyway, hidden away somewhere, isn't perhaps there anymore. And there's a bit of a panic going on, but the chaos is still carrying on as the commerce is still rolling on with money that has no worth. You see, that it's a mad place. It's a world of utter chaos, and it's getting more chaotic all the time. As a world of separation, with everything separating, it's got to have conflict because it's positive and negative. It's got to be conflict, and the conflict's just escalating with every new thing people try to do. And also, that's because everything keeps going into extremes. You can invent something and it'll be great, and then someone will perfect it, and then it's an ultimate. Then it starts going past that, and gradually just falls apart. Like, it can never stay at the happy medium. There's the trouble with this world, and he's talking about that. Really, the dreaming of the world takes many forms, but really, and also it's about a conqueror of bodies. It's about wars, and then it becomes a slave. Throughout the book, it talks about, like, it talks of reincarnation without talking about reincarnation, if you get what I mean. It says you've got to come back here thousands of times, you have to suffer over and over again. It just hints at it, though it confirms in the back of the book in the reincarnation section that it does exist within the illusion, and you can talk about it if you want, but it doesn't exist really because the illusion doesn't exist.
Mm.
You know, so that's what really I can say about that paragraph two.
Yeah, but I also like the way that you know what's being conveyed here is like the body, which is like it said in that other section, is this fence that we've put around what we think of a part of ourselves to keep us separate and to keep love
Yeah.
locked out. Um, and then we can perpetuate that idea and we can justify it to ourselves and keep it going, and then say that we're at the mercy of all of these influences all outside of us. We're just an innocent figure in this story where we're in this body that's just crumbling and decaying, and it's at the mercy of everything outside of itself so that it can continue as a thought, because the opposite would be to say, hold on a minute, I'm the master of my destiny. I'm going to turn this idea of a fence around myself on its head and introduce the truth and say, right, I now have a vehicle to wake myself up from this dream. And then with my awakened light, to penetrate the darkness as I move through the landscape. And other people can spot that, and then they can go, what is that like?
Yeah, follow that light.
Hmm.
Yeah, follow that light. That's sound, as it says in the next chapter,
Hmm.
the paragraph. Sorry, the
Yeah.
body's serial adventures from the time of birth to dying is the theme of every dream the world has ever known, has ever had. The hero of the dream will never change, nor will its purpose. Though the dream itself takes many forms and seems to show a great variety of places and events wherein its hero finds itself, the dream has but one purpose, taught in many ways. This single lesson does it try to teach again and still again, and yet once more, that it is cause and not effect,
Hmm.
and you are its effect and cannot be its cause.
Ah,
Now that is a key point, that is.
yeah.
Like the world keeps trying to tell you, like, that is the cause and you are the effect. It beats you over the head and it makes you suffer, and you can't do anything about it because it's a big old world and you're a little person, and no matter what it does to you, it can kick you up and down the street and you can't do anything about it because it's a big old world. And that's how it's so convincing from every angle. Like, you can change this, but nothing ever lets you know. I think nothing, there's no, I mean, not in religion. In religion, you're never taught that you're taught that you can be like Jesus or follow him and be like him, but no one explains how you actually do this. Like the call stud, this is how you be like Jesus. I remember when I first got the call, realized it was telling me that I too can be like Jesus. I thought, no, I can't. Me like Jesus. How can I be like Jesus? But over the time, you begin to realize it doesn't mean you turn into him. It means you understand the same knowledge that he has. You grasp his knowledge. You see. I think most people, when they read something like that, they think, well, how can I be him like him? He's such a wonderful man. He's such a guilt-free, negative trait-free person. How could I ever be like that?
Hmm.
And because of that, because we live in a world of separating the positives and negatives, the world, it tends to take the negative side of everything. It keeps pushing the negative things. It's like your memories. Like, it keeps presenting guilty thoughts back to you from the past, like to make you feel bad.
Hmm.
Where's all the good things from the past that suddenly appear in your head? They don't come. It keeps finding, it sorts through. I mean, I don't know if the Akashic records exist, and if they do, they're part of the illusion. But it certainly can find some stuff in there and sort of like stuffs it into your mind. Like, remember that thing you did 15 years ago when you said something to someone and they got upset and you didn't really mean it? Oh, no. Like that. What does it mean? But it keeps finding, the world keeps finding stuff like that and tormenting you all the time. And this is the
Hmm.
suffering of memories. A lot of people are not suffering from physical pain. They're suffering from mental pain, of
Hmm.
memories that something they did or something happened that they wish they hadn't done.
Hmm.
But in reality, they haven't done anything.
Hmm.
They haven't done anything. And this is what this goes on to explain in future paragraphs. Uh, I'll follow on with that little bit because it's only a short one. Sorry.
Yeah, please.
Thus you are not the dreamer, but the dream. And so you wander idly in and out of places and events that it contrives. That is all the body does is true, for it is but a figure in a dream. But who reacts to figures in a dream unless he sees them as if they were real? The instant that he sees them as they are, they have no more effects on him, because he understands he gave them their effects by causing them and making them seem real. So it's just saying that all the time you've been kidding yourself. None of this stuff that you've been scaring you to death and making you feel so bad is actually real. It's a dream, like, I mean, it's it's like in the dreams at night, like, no matter what goes on, it's just nothing in the morning. And also, it's this Nisargadatta, this is the way he puts this, like, life is just a set of memories. Like, something happens, then it disappears. Then something else happens and it disappears. Something else happens and it disappears. Now. But as it disappears, it goes into a stream in your mind, which you see as your life. This is my life going by, and you dip back into that memory, which obviously gets distorted because it's a constant flow. I mean, like, it's like there's something else in this Gadata as well. Where he asked somebody like, "Can you remember what you did last week?" He said, "Well, what do you mean? When about last week? What did you do last Tuesday or whatever?" He said, "I don't know. I can't remember." He said, "Well, what was your life then? Then like where was your life? What's your life? If you can't remember that bit, what was your life last Tuesday? It wasn't there. You can only remember a bit. Anyway, I don't want to get too complex with it, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? It says you are not the dreamer, but the dream. That's what the dream is trying to tell you, but you are the dreamer. Do you want to read the next bit? How
Yeah,
willing are
because it's
you?
about, again, let's bring Nisargadatta into it. It's about
Yes, yeah.
identifying as the person, isn't it? If you identify as the person and not the dreamer of the dream, not the mind that thinks it's a person, then you are moving around in this dreamscape, believing everything's real, completely consumed by all the ups and downs, all the backing and forth in the good days, the bad days, whether you've got money, whether you haven't got money, all of that script, all of that detail, you're completely consumed in it because your identification process hasn't kicked in to the extent where you've had somebody explain it to you in a way that you can grasp, where you realize you're not the person, you're the mind who believes it's a person because it is dreaming. But one thing I like to say is like, we think we're dreaming, needing to wake up, but we're actually awake thinking that we're dreaming.
That's that's right. That's right. In awakening, people tend to think of such a thing as an event, like something will happen
Mm,
and I will wake up. It's not that. It's a case of something not happening because your belief for it to be real doesn't happen anymore. And it's like your spirit is underneath layers and layers of memories and thoughts. You have to get to it. You have to get
mm,
strip away all these layers
mm,
until you reach the spirit within. And when you get there, you will know it.
mm.
It's like I heard a good analogy about that, where if there's a huge pond full of algae and you've got to clear it, and you've got a fork or a little rake, and a little tiny rake, and you're sitting by this pond raking out. And every day at the end of the day, the pond still, you've got a pile of algae next to you, but the lake still looks the same because of the nature of the algae. It's all moggy. Then one day, no matter how long it takes, one day with your little rake, you pull out the very last bit of algae and dump it there, and you're looking at an absolutely crystal clear pond. And that is your mind, and that is how this works. Every day you keep working away at it,
Mm,
chipping away at your belief this it's isn't that this is real,
mm.
until one day that last bit of dream, that last bit of algae is gone, and the crystal clarity is yours.
And then you
Yeah,
get the direct experience that the pond was always only ever made of crystal clear water.
all the time. It was you that dumped the algae in there.
And it wasn't even real algae.
It wasn't real algae, nothing.
Brilliant. So, how willing are you to escape effects of all the dream the world has ever had? Is it your wish to let no dream appear to be the cause of what it is you do? Then let us merely look upon the dream's beginning, for the part you see is but the second part, whose cause lies in the first. No one asleep and dreaming in the world remembers his attack upon himself. No one believes there really was a time when he knew nothing of a body and could never have conceived this world as real. He would have seen at once that these ideas are one illusion, too ridiculous for anything but to be laughed away. How serious they now appear to be, and no one can remember when they would have met this with laughter and disbelief. We can remember this if we but look directly at their cause, and we will see the grounds for laughter, not a cause for fear.
And that grounds for laughter is our believing that this to be real,
Yeah,
to be the effect on us that we've always experienced or thought we experienced.
yeah, and also laughter. When we include and refer to the section in the course where it says God is, when it says, like Ken Wapnick used to say, if there's only one thing in the whole course that's true, it's like God is, two words in one sentence. And we say God is and we cease to speak because there aren't any words to describe it. And even if there were, we haven't even got any lips with which to speak them. So when you include that symbolism and you come back to laughter, laughter is almost like a characteristic of something that happens in the dream, because laughter itself is as impossible as speaking in perfect oneness, because you haven't got any lips to speak, you haven't got any mouth to laugh with. But the use of laughter, when I think of one of my favorite quotes in the course, when it says, "In lightness and laughter is sin gone, because its quaint absurdity is seen."
I
And
bet laughter is of heaven. That's it. The secret there, what you've just read out, really is in jokes. You can tell the most disgusting, horrible story to anybody as long as before you tell it, you say, "Wait a minute, this is a joke." Oh, is it a joke? Okay, then you can tell the most horrible story ever, and they'll laugh their heads off. They can tell jokes about concentration camps, God knows what else, and people
yeah,
do,
yeah,
and people laugh at the end. Concentration camps are not funny, but as long as you announce before the joke that this is a joke, people will laugh at it because the announcement that it's a joke takes the reality out of it. It suddenly becomes a fictional story. The horrible things that are in it are seen as a joke, as something that couldn't possibly happen because it's a joke. You've said it's a joke. Now, my terrible story will actually be funny because you realise it's not real at all. And then you can laugh at these horrible things happening to somebody because you realise, how can that happen in God's heaven? That's ridiculous. And it's the same thing as what he's saying here. You get the Holy Spirit, come with me and look at this. Laugh with me a while. Did I really push that bloke off a cliff? No, anyway, I'm joking. But you can,
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm joking. And he's saying the things that are making you suffer didn't really happen because you're in a dream. And he says, come back, and I go back to the beginning. When you go back to the beginning, you realize the beginning was when you were one with everything and everything was just love. It isn't possible that you could do that to anybody. There isn't anybody to do it to. And you wouldn't, that sort of idea wouldn't consider it come to cross your mind anyway, because you're within the oneness of God where you belong. You've stepped out of it into a dream and you're seeing these nasty things. Step back into the oneness with me, and let's laugh together. That's how I see that.
And also that bit at the big, when it says about no one, where was the section where he said, you
No
can't
one can remember when they've met with laughter. That bit.
yeah. And also when it divides it into two parts and says, oh, that's it, then look at the dream's beginning, because you see the second part and the cause of that lies in the first. I think that's absolutely fantastic, because we are moving around in this dream as we consider ourselves to be, and that's the second part. But the origin of the dream is the first part, which is the moment when you believed that you fell asleep, when you believed you could take yourself out of perfect oneness, put a fence around yourself, which we call the body, and then now you're safe from love. Because in that moment of madness, you saw love as an attack, because in perfect oneness, there was no opportunity for you to shine a little bit brighter than everything.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's even that sort of related to in the Bible with the Adam and Eve story. Just like in the Bible, this mentions this in the course actually. It says in the Bible, God put Adam to sleep. It says nothing about him waking up again. And Adam is actually Hebrew for man. So it's actually saying God put man asleep. So man's asleep. The idea of him taking his rib out and making Eve is the beginning of the idea of separation. The dream of separation began when he separated into two and became man and woman. Ever since then, we've still been in the dream. He's referring to that, going back to that when before God put you to sleep and you were one with him. You still are one with him when you wake up and find out you aren't actually asleep at all. You're just dreaming.
And don't forget your one of your favourite quotes. You can't be anywhere but in the mind of God, was it?
That's right. Yeah. Oh, remember always you can never be anywhere except within the mind of God. Yeah. Chapter 9, verse 8, 5:3. That is the one. I think it's the only one I can actually remember because that is the line that stuck most with me when I first come across it for some reason.
Mm.
Yeah. So so the next one then is the bit what people, this contains the one that a lot of people tend to remember,
We've
where it
got
says,
the how
let us,
serious. We had the how serious they now appear to be. Did I read that? Yeah.
uh, yeah, you read
Yeah. Beg your
that.
pardon.
Okay. So it's let us return the dream he gave away unto the dreamer, who perceives the dream as separate from himself and done to him. Into eternity, where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea, at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. In his forgetting, did the thought become a serious idea, and possible of both accomplishment and real effects. Together we can laugh them both away and understand that time cannot intrude upon eternity. It is a joke to think that time can come to circumvent eternity, which means there is no time.
Mhm.
And that famous line, like the tiny mad idea, where he remembered not to laugh.
Mm.
Like I always say about that as a footnote, like where he says he remembered not. That's like Shakespearean verse, like where alas, I remember not,
Mhm.
meaning he forgot.
Mm.
I remember not to laugh, and in his forgetting, he sort of clarifies it straight afterwards.
Yeah.
But I think that line is phrased in that Shakespearean way to make you think about what he's saying. He remembered not to laugh.
I
He
also
forgot
think
to
it's
laugh.
powerful because um, prior to that tiny mad idea, how could you remember not to laugh? Because what alternate state would you be comparing it to? If you were in perfect oneness, how could you remember not to laugh? Because when did you not laugh in the past?
He remembered not to laugh. He's forgetting to laugh. Well, obviously, a lot of laughing goes on in oneness.
God,
Oh, well, there are extensions of one. I mean, like the angels, like the course talks about angels hovering near you and stuff like that. They're
yeah.
extensions of God. They're not parts of Him. In His oneness, they're extensions of Him. At the moment, we're extensions of God. We're not parts of God having a dream. We're extensions of Him having a dream, aspects of Him, as is everything.
Mm,
As I've always said, like if you dream at night of some people sitting on the beach with a cat and a dog, the cat and the dog and the grains of sand are made out of the same dream stuff as the people.
mm,
And so is the same here. Everything is made out of the mind of God. We're just the speaking part of it.
mhm,
We're actually, I mean, I'm actually, in my look out of my eyes, hear through my ears world, I'm the entire universe. As Vanessa Gadata says, your body doesn't stop at your skin, it stops at your whole range of vision. You are your world.
mm,
I mean, like, you can't breathe without the oxygen going in and out of your nose, so that makes you part of it straight away. You need to find bits of it to eat to keep going. You can't live without this world. You are the world, you see, and what you create in it is up to you, but you don't realise that you're doing that. So magnificently attuned is this dreaming machine. We're in the mind of God, and we're in a machine that God has produced. When he thinks about separation, he thinks, well, it's the ultimate because this perfect mind has produced perfect separation in that we think we're separate from him in this perfect separation. It's an error, a mistake that wasn't supposed to happen.
mm.
There's no meaning to life really. There's no meaning to my dream last night. It was just a dream, and this is the same. And this tiny mad idea that it was real, or I could be referring to the whole idea itself as the dream of separation itself is a mad idea.
Sure. Yeah, because I like the bit at the beginning where it says, "Let us return the dream he gave away unto the dreamer, who perceives the dream as separate from himself and done to him." So
Yeah,
what that's saying is like, let's give back this mad idea that we could be separate to the mind who perceived that the separation had happened and was done, but done to him, because all the time that the dreaming mind perpetuates its madness, it relies on this thing that it said earlier, that you are the effect and cannot be the cause. Then it says you're not the dreamer but the dream.
Yeah,
And that's like, again, Nisargadatta saying, the background, isn't it? It's like movement is transient and impermanent, but for movement to have a context and even a concept and a definition, it needs an opposite, which is still.
comparative stillness. Yeah,
So if we look at that and say, you are not the dreamer, but the dream, you are not the movement and the madness and the ups and downs, but the stillness. Let
the
us
dreamer.
return the dream.
Give it, yeah, return the dream to the dreamer. Let's wake
And
him
then
up.
one of
Stop
the
it.
things you like to say is like eternity. People think of eternity as being a really long time.
They do. I'm here for all eternity. They think of an unfathomably long time. Eternity is no time.
Yeah.
As Nisargadatta says about this, like this is circular. And it says in the course as well, like the dream ends at the beginning.
Mm.
Because it's actually like, we go like that, then we've stopped and gone into a bubble. And if we've gone round in this circle and come back to where we started, when you wake up, you're back where you always were. You just realise it was just a dream.
Yeah, and that's again coming back to this bit that let us merely look upon the dream's beginning, for the part that you see is the second part, and the
That's right.
cause lies in the first.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, here as well, when it says, together we can laugh them both away and understand that time cannot intrude upon eternity. It's a joke to think that time can come to circumvent eternity, which means there is no time. And that word circumvent, absolutely brilliant use of that word.
yeah. So it goes round.
Yeah,
It goes round. It goes round eternity. It's like
yeah,
it's it's like a it's like we're inside a bubble, inside an eternal one. It's just we're in this like a bubble dream,
yeah,
moving from side to side of it. When it goes collapses, it's just gone, isn't it?
yeah.
As are all bubbles.
And the body is that bubble in a way.
Yeah,
So, a
yeah,
timelessness in which time made real, a timelessness in which is time made real. Mental, such a brilliant use of language.
yeah.
A part of God that can attack itself, a separate brother as an enemy, a mind within a body, all are forms of circularity whose ending starts at its beginning, ending at its cause.
What I just said, rock and
Yeah.
roll.
The world you see depicts exactly what you thought you did, except that now you think that what you did is being done to you. The guilt for what you thought is being placed outside yourself and on a guilty world that dreams your dreams and thinks your thoughts instead of you. It brings its vengeance, not your own. It keeps you narrowly confined within a body, which it punishes because of all the sinful things the body does within its dream. You have no power to make the body stop its evil deeds because you didn't make it, and you cannot control its actions, nor its purpose, nor its fate. It's quite a handy little way to keep it all going, isn't it?
It is. This one, I'll tell you, I'll tell you this bit here. The world you see depicts exactly what you thought you did.
Yeah.
Now that reform, what I did a lot of considering about that. It goes, except that now you think that what you did is being done to you. The
Yeah.
guilt for what you thought is being placed outside yourself and on a guilty world that dreams your dreams and thinks your thoughts instead of you. As I understand that, when it says the thought you see depicts exactly what you thought you did,
Mm.
because what you thought you did, you didn't do at all. But what you thought you did is how you understand the world around you. You take references from it. That's happening because of that. That's happening because of this, because you keep referring back to what you did. So you're making up your world out of what you did. So except that now what you think what you did is being done to you. You're making up the world out of your memories. the guilt for what you thought you did, some guilty thing, is being replaced is being projected outside of you in a way to make you feel guilty again.
Mm,
And you make it a guilty world that dreams your dreams and thinks your thoughts instead of you. You think because you don't realize you're making your world up out of your past. So it's thinking your thoughts instead of you, and that's your suffering and torment.
mm.
Brilliantly put across. It takes some
Yeah,
figuring out, but
it
the whole
does.
book's like, yeah,
And also, then again, it's back to the tiny mad idea. It's like saying,
exactly, yeah,
you didn't have the tiny mad idea. The world is the manifestation of that tiny mad idea. And
yeah,
you innocently got landed in this world with all these other bodies. And now you're
that's right.
battered and bruised because of the mean old world. You were having a lovely time in perfect oneness prior to the world sucking you into this place because here you are now, and it was nothing to do with you. And again, something that Rupert Spira said, which really helped me, was, and I know you and I have spoken about this, is when he was asked about A Course in Miracles, and they were talking to him about the symbolism that's used in the system. Something he said, which, honestly, it was such a great revelation for me. When he had it explained to him about the tiny mad idea, he said, "Well, the tiny mad idea still occurred within the mind of God. It's not like the body that represents a separate aspect of God's mind was somewhere outside of God." We'll go back to your quote, always remember that you can only ever be in the mind of God.
Yeah,
So, therefore, the tiny mad idea actually occurred in God's mind because that's where the extension of God is, who had that thought of separation. And, in order for that to be like a completely guiltless event, that's when I've said to you before about the computer analogy and said, like, if you have a really, really highly powered computer, it's going to start running simple codes that turn into programs. If you have a very arid desert with dried out bits of timber and what's the weed? The
tumbleweeds, scrub.
tumbleweed and scrub, and it's a really hot day. All the conditions are there for a bushfire.
Or a bushfire, yeah.
It's not, it's just inevitable because of the elements. And in a sense, the thought of separation is just what it can just be thrown away in that same thing of just like, well, so what? Yeah.
Yeah, if you could get that far with it, yeah, so what?
Who cares?
Nothing is separated.
No.
Really, if you think of it's hard to do, but if everything is God here, all these things we've called everything, like the lamp, the wall, the door, that's my idea of what they are. They're not, it's God. Everything is like in a dream, like I said about the people on the beach and the grains of sand. It's all me, it's all made out of me, same as this is all made out of God. But it's so perfect is this separation that it's
Mm.
difficult to believe otherwise, and that's the whole battle to wake up, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
really good point because we're not dreaming of separation using some clapped out old computer that's barely got any data and memory. We're using the most incredible mind.
Oh,
So,
what?
so of
It's
course we're going to dream up a separation that's plausible because
we're at we're aspects of him. Like the people in my dreams are aspects of me enjoying the dream, so to speak. We're the aspects of God experience the dream. He's still, well, he's not asleep. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but we're not the be all and end all in his world. There's like sent in a misery like Jesus, come and sort that out, will you? It's giving me nightmares. And it says like, God is not whole while you're carrying on like this. He wants to be
yeah,
whole. He's not
yeah.
whole while you're thinking you're not with him.
Mm.
He just wants you to wake up. He's concerned.
But
He
it's
said it,
it's language, isn't it? Because you can't
yeah,
you can't be asleep, you can't be apart from God. And then, of course, it says there's nowhere the Father ends and the Son begins. It's just using language, and it says, he's aware when his channels are closed and things. It's just it's
that's
just trying
it.
to really drill something into you to just say, just wake up. Wake up to the
Exactly.
reality of your being.
It- we've only got words, as I said before, we've only got words to describe the indescribable. So we have to say, it's a great, you have to exercise great wordplay to sort of get your point across, as the
Yeah,
book itself does.
that's right.
You
Such as
know,
that incredible line, about into eternity where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea. And I always say to people as well about that tiny mad idea. Into
yeah,
eternity where all is one, there lunged a gigantic, insane idea. It's just, really, what happened? No, there crept a tiny mad idea
yeah,
where the son of, at which, so the idea at which we remembered not to laugh.
yeah,
And again, that's why I think that remembered not to laugh, the sequencing of that choice of language, because you wouldn't, there'd be nothing to remember because the past wouldn't exist, but it's used on purpose. At which the Son of God remembered not to laugh, and in his forgetting did the thought become a serious idea, possible of both accomplishment and real effects. Together we can laugh them both away and understand that time cannot intrude upon eternity. I mean, that comes back to one of my favourites that I said earlier. In lightness and laughter is sin gone because its
yeah,
quaint absurdity is seen.
yeah,
Quaint absurdity. You speaking, that's your first language and my first language.
yeah.
How casual is that as a description? Quaint absurdity.
Quaint, a quaint, yeah. It's that's like it's going back to the laughing. Give you, reason to laugh at this. It's quaint.
Yeah,
It's absurd. It's quaint. The very idea that this is real is quaint.
yeah.
It's a great use of words, that is. It really is. Um, this next paragraph, this is something the world but demonstrates an ancient truth. You will believe that others do to you exactly what you think to did to them. But once deluded into blaming them, you will not see the cause of what they do because you want the guilt to rest on them. How childish is your petulant device to keep your innocence by pushing guilt outside yourself, but never letting go? It is not easy to perceive the jest when all around you do your eyes behold its heavy consequences, but without their trifling cause. Without the cause, do its effects seem serious and sad indeed? Yet they but follow, and it is their cause that follows nothing and is but a jest. This goes to what we were saying earlier on about the joke. It's just a joke, a jest. It all seems heavy and serious and bad, and these terrible things that seem to be going on, and wars and people torturing each other and all that. But it's not even happening. It's a product of your mind.
Mm.
Inside a mind that is capable. I mean, this is getting into sort of metaphysics, really, but I think there's lots of choices in life you can lead. You're continually making choices what road to go up, what job to take. You end up in, and if you didn't take that job and took another one, your life goes up that route. And I think that can be sort of accessed somehow. People might sort of like slip in out of different dimensions. You know, I've gone a bit off track there talking about that. But it said, it cease to perceive the jest from all around you, do your eyes behold its heavy consequences without their trifling cause. All sorts of, it's just a
Trifling.
stupid, yeah, it's just your imagination. All these different things that can happen in the dream, like you can imagine dealing with something in a nasty way, and you think, is what I'm thinking about, like inspired by some other nasty, because nastiness breeds nastiness.
Mm.
Like it escalates in war.
Mm.
Like someone captures a soldier, and normally they would look up. If you've got a sadistic person there and they torture that soldier, when other soldiers capture their soldiers, they will torture him in revenge for torturing that one. And it just escalates into total mayhem.
Yeah.
You see, and but really, this heavy consequences are not seen with their trifling cause. It's all expanded out from this tiny mad idea, has expanded into this horrible mayhem,
Yeah.
you know.
And if
Even
we
for the
looked
people
at,
living the Even for somebody living the quietest life, they can still hear about all this mayhem in the news and on the internet. Trying to get away from it completely, you'd have to be a hermit, you know. But
so I
to
was
get away
thinking of
completely,
if you
yeah,
had like the tiny mad idea, if you saw the quaint absurdity of the tiny mad idea and
Yeah,
recognize the trifling cause.
a good one. Yeah,
But I love that bit at the beginning of that as well. The world but demonstrates an ancient truth. You will believe that others do to you exactly what you think you did to them. That's a great exposure of
yeah,
that sort of disassociation of projection.
yeah,
And then once you're deluded into blaming them, you'll not see the cause of what they do because you want the guilt to rest on them.
yeah, because you
So
don't want it
they're,
yourself.
yeah, they're just the characters that you're projecting onto. And if you keep that going, you can keep your dream going. The alarm clock won't go off. And then all the time the alarm clock doesn't go off, you can keep using your little silver discs and your bits of green strips of paper to cover your body and stuff. And
Yeah, it's their cause that follows nothing but a jest. Aye.
so in gentle laughter does the Holy Spirit perceive the cause and looks not to effects. How else could he correct your error who have overlooked the cause entirely? He bids you bring each terrible effect to him, that you may look together on its foolish cause and laugh with him a while. You judge effects, but he has judged their cause. And by his judgment are effects removed. Perhaps you come in tears, but hear him say, My brother, Holy Son of God, behold your idle dream in which this could occur. And you will leave the holy instant with your laughter and your brothers joined with his.
God, that is so holy. That is so holy. That is so sweet, you know?
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. You look, behold your right, like you come in tears. Look at this, look at this, look at this. You know, come in tears at this terrible, terrible thing that's happened to me or goings on in the world. Look, it's a joke. Let's have a laugh.
Mm.
Let's have a laugh. You know, it isn't really happening. It may appear to be happening, but know that it's not. Grasp that, you know, and even if you don't wake up, at least you get that understanding that you don't have to believe this is really true.
Mm.
It doesn't mean to say, like, go around telling anybody it's a dream and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Don't say anything.
Yeah.
You know, telling people it's a dream won't work. You have to know it's a dream. And once you know it's a dream, then perhaps you can convince them, look at how I am. That's by showing by example.
Mm.
You know, if you're awake and speaking about it in a way that they can understand, like Nassagadata and Jesus does, then
Mm.
you're doing your job,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah, because you're only talking to yourself, and if
Yeah,
somebody,
exactly. You only talk to yourself.
someone
As it,
hears their self in the words, like when Nisargadatta would be saying, I just hear speaking. I just hear. So, well, what happens when you're talking? He goes, I just hear speaking.
yeah, it's like we said before in one of our shows, like, this is like we're sitting in a holographic cinema and our body is the seat. The spirit is sitting in it, looking, using the senses, taste, sense, touch, eyesight, ears, hearing, eyesight. It's only a vehicle, like a huge, like a holographic projector, projecting it all around you while the spirit sits inside, just watching and listening
Yeah.
and
And then,
hearing and just knowing. We can't explain the knowing, but the spirit within is knowing, while the ego outside is doing whatever he's doing in the dream. But it doesn't matter, as Nisargadatta said. You just watch, you just look. As it says here in this next paragraph, the secret of salvation is but this, that you are doing this unto yourself, no matter what the form of the attack. This still is true. Whoever takes the role of enemy and of attacker, still is this the truth. Whatever seems to be the cause of any pain and suffering you feel, this is still true. For you would not react at all to figures in a dream you knew that you were dreaming. Let them be as hateful and vicious as they may. They could have no effect on you unless you fail to recognize it is your dream. Now that addresses something that used to occur to me, like, if I'm the one dreaming all this, why am I dreaming about Adolf Hitler and people like that and other people in the world who are causing so much trouble? Why am I dreaming them? Are they me? But when you think about it in a nightmare, You can have a terrible nightmare and dream of some monstrous things going on in it. But when you wake up, it was a nightmare. It wasn't real.
Hmm.
And this has got to be the same. You know, no matter what these beings are who appear to be doing all this, they're they're the produce of a world of split into extreme positivity and negativity. This so-called idea of Satan. There's only a Satan here because in this world, God has to have an opposite. Because everything here has to have an opposite. Even colours have got opposites. What is it? Yellow's the opposite of purple, and green's the opposite of orange. Every colour has an opposite. You know, there's only one thing here that don't have an opposite, and this is in the course, and that's truth.
Hmm.
Truth doesn't have an opposite because, well, look, someone could say lies. But what are lies? They're just nothing. There's empty nothingness. Someone else could say error. What's error? It's something that isn't how it's supposed to be. Like we're not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be in heaven with God. You see, it's like the whole idea is I am dreaming the whole lot, no matter what's going on in it,
Hmm.
no matter what, no matter how evil it appears to be. For some reason, I am dreaming it. It's the same I could dream about. You're telling me that a vicar has never had an evil dream? Do you know what I mean? You cannot control your dreams at night, no matter what your daytime persona is. You see, and this is the same. That's what he's saying there. Let them be as hateful and vicious as they may. They could have no effect on you unless you fail to recognize it is your dream.
It's
And
your
as
dream as
Nisargadatta's
well.
doing, yeah, Nisargadatta's looking out through his eyeballs and just seeing the dream.
Hmm.
And he's talking in it because in the dream, that's what his body's doing. But he knows sitting in his seat inside his body that I'm just watching the movie.
And that comes back lovely to the bit from What is the Body, when it was saying, the body is the means by which God's Son returns to sanity. Though it was made to fence him into hell without escape, yet has the goal of heaven been exchanged for the pursuit of hell. The Son of God extends his hand to reach his brother and to help him walk along the road with him. Now is the body holy. Now it serves to heal the mind that it was made to kill. So even though we've had this idea of separation and we've housed ourselves, quote unquote, within this body, even that body cannot be exempt from the laws of love, which is okay, you've created the body, which you've done to try and support your idea of separation, but actually all of your stuff's nonsense. So that body really is now,
Yeah,
it's going to be a tool to help you reach the hand of your brother, help him walk along the road with you, and it's going to serve the mind that it was made to kill. So there's nothing that narrative that you're saying, with character, with the evil characters, let them be as hateful. The narrative is the same, isn't it? It's a dream of separation. So therefore, you're going to apply a script, a narrative to all the characters in that dream that support this dream of separation.
yeah,
That's your quote unquote personal script that you think you've overlaid as meaning onto what's happening. But the
mm,
truth behind that is that everything is always one, has only ever been one, can only ever be one, and therefore the narrative is false. And once you realize it's false, the truth is revealed like the pond. Once the narrative is the algae on top, once that's removed, the pond's clear. The truth's always been clear.
yeah.
But that lovely line, the secret of salvation is but this: you're doing this unto yourself. And the ego doesn't want to hear that, does it?
No,
I'm doing this to myself, but I feel terrible. Look at all the suffering. Look at all the horrible stuff going on. I'm not doing it to me. The
I can't
world's doing it
possibly.
to
Yeah,
me. I was,
exactly.
yeah, I was having a lovely time till the world did all of that nasty stuff to me.
Mm. No, when you wake
Take,
up, the nasty stuff stops. Yeah.
take us into that next bit then, Steve.
This single lesson learned will set you free from suffering, whatever form it takes. And that single lesson being, let them be as hateful and vicious as they may, they could have no effect on you unless you fail to recognize it is your dream.
Right.
The Holy Spirit will repeat this one inclusive lesson of deliverance until it has been learned, regardless of the form of suffering that brings you pain. Whatever truth you bring to him, he will make answer with this very simple truth. For this one answer takes away the cause of every form of sorrow and of pain. The form affects his answer, not at all. For he would teach you but the single cause of all of them, no matter what their form, and you will understand the miracles reflect the simple statement, I have done this thing, and it is this I would undo. So no matter what the hell's going on there, it's down to you to undo it because it's you doing it. There's only you looking through your eyes, hearing through your ears, talking through your mouth, and touching with your hands. It's only you. No matter what your world is, I mean, everybody's got their own idea of what's going on in the world. And when we leave here, that goes with us. All they knew was your name and what you said and thought about stuff. Your world just goes. It was just a dream anyway. We all look at the same scenery and share the same props, but we're all having our own screenplay, aren't we? We're just all doing our own thing. We share it with our wives and our friends and this, that, and the other, but they've got their own screenplay going on. They're just in the same play.
But the narrative, there's like a
Yeah,
collective narrative, isn't there, that
yeah,
supports either the world as a place of separation, and you get people who are going, oh, this is an attack on God, we shouldn't be here, blah, 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 blah. Or, well, this actually, the real world is actually a platform, screenplay for us to awaken to the fact that separation never occurred. So we do that with forgiveness, and forgiveness is like a passive presence of just seeing everything without tainting everything. And then forgiveness as an action, even though it's not an action, opens up the airwaves so we can hear the guidance from our higher self. And then once we hear that, that starts to generate. So the presence itself has more of a platform, and it gets to have more of
yeah.
a voice because of that platform. And then we're undoing. What was your last line then? Then I've done this thing, and it is this that I would undo, which we know
Yeah.
with coarse language, the word atonement just simply means undoing. So it's like
Undoing, yeah.
with forgiveness, so with like a completely passive, non-judgmental perspective, I then open up the airwaves to hear the Holy Spirit, which is just a symbolized language for your higher self, right-mindedness, your connection to source, and that is the undoing. And then through
Yeah.
that undoing, my light, your light, we see ourselves reflected in one another, and this place that was supposed to be somewhere to keep the thought of separation perpetuated is now a place where we can go, oh, we're not separate. Oh, we're all one. Oh, wow. Great.
And we're all one in perfect love as well. The fear just disappears. He said, once you realize it's a dream, as it says, you can't be fearful anymore because you know it's a dream.
Mm,
It can't hurt. It's a dream, and eventually you're going to take off your mortal coil, as they say, and return to it proper. But the whole idea of being back in the golden age, being in a golden age where we all know I mean, I believe like the golden age referred to in some sort of like societies, ancient societies, was before the idea of separation came about. The idea of separation came about, but originally we knew it was an idea within the mind of God and enjoyed it sort of thing as a golden age.
mm,
But once we forgot, which will be really easy to forget, because if just say Adam and Eve didn't tell their kids it was a dream, how would they ever find out? I mean, that's just mere speculation on my part, though.
mm,
But the point was, whatever the tiny idea refers to, whether it be in the idea of separation itself or the idea of forgetting that it actually is an idea, it's still that idea that got us where we are now. Where we're still thinking that it's actually real.
mm.
You know,
So we had a
it's
mind that was so powerful that when we thought of separation, we were able to,
it appeared.
yeah, we were
Yeah,
able
people took
to,
it seriously. It's supposed to be a joke. Yeah, would it be like this if we were all separate? If the idea within the mind of God, or what's the opposing? What would it like to be opposed to me? If that is, that's the, I don't think he said it in them words, but the notion appeared within the mind of God, and suddenly this idea separation appeared. This perfect idea of it separating the perfect opposites appeared.
mm,
But of course, like because the idea can, as I was always talking about, time as space demonstrates a separation, and the byproduct of time came about because it takes time across this space. and it's crossing all this crossing. I mean, even the electrons shooting around a neutron inside an atom are in space. In fact, I read somewhere if you took all the space out of an atom, we would just be about as flat as a fag paper. Do you know what I mean? There'd be nothing to us virtually. We're just made out of space.
Mm.
You see, a space like crossing it takes me, and then the length of time it takes you to cross any amount of space is what we call life. You take away the space, then there's no time. We're just one again. You see, it's quite straightforward, really.
It
So
takes a lot, I always quote that phrase that Einstein said, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough.
that's a great maxim.
But for you to just explain it like that is probably the product of decades of contemplation. Otherwise, it wouldn't come across
Oh yeah, yeah.
so
That's
simply
because
in a small
it
sentence.
it took me a long time to get that to this point with it because I realised, like I said before to you and Lewis, I when I first got the course, I was travelling, and of course, me projecting. I was wondering, everyone I met seemed to have a copy of the Course of Miracles on their bookshelf. I realise now I was projecting it, but at the time I thought it's just coincidence. All these people have all got a copy of the Course, but most of them they'd sort of read it and then give up on it because of the convoluted language, and it was just mainly sitting on their bookshelf. And I said, why haven't you followed it? He said, oh, I tried. I just couldn't make head or tail of it and give up. And I thought, well, my place then is to simplify it. So I can just say, well, it's this, it means this, it means that. Like
Mm,
Dave, I spoke to Dave Hoffmeister about it years ago when I met him, and he said, "You're a teacher for the man in the street." He said he teaches from the heart, but I teach from logic, like to the man in the street, which
mm.
is actually true. I want to open it to people. One problem I've had with it is that it is so it can seem too simple. It's like but at least they get the gist of it. You know.
Yeah, but I was talking to my wife about this earlier when we were up on the downs walking the dog, and I said Steve's like a translator. And she's not into the course, as you know, because it's not her thing. It's too wordy. She gets it, and she operates from exactly the same place as we do as students of the course. But
Yeah, my wife does the same. Well,
right,
yeah.
so but you're maybe one of like only a very small list, like one, two, or three, where she can listen and enjoy your stuff because you do translate, And I said to us loads of times when we're reading stuff, and Steve would go, "Yeah, well, that just means blah blah blah," and it's like it's a gift to be able to break down an entire paragraph of big words and very powerful symbolism and poetry and the Shakespearean meter and all of that, and to be able to say this is what's going on. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
you're in my dream, Steve, making it
I'm glad I
simple.
am too, my friend. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it did take a long time. It did take a lot of work to do it. When I lived in Australia, I worked on a farm. In the morning, I'd do my work, and in the afternoons off, I just walk around in the bush talking about it to myself all
Mm,
day. Just talk about it over and over and over in my mind until I had. And that's when I started making videos in the bush because I get the idea and I whip out the limited camera and just film myself, and that's where my videos started from there.
wow.
That was 10 years ago now.
Well, it's
Yeah.
making me consider why did I project into my dream that I wouldn't meet anybody with the course for 27 years then?
Well, I, oh God.
You've gone from household to household projecting people who've got the course. I had 27 years where I met three, possibly four people who had the course before I discovered the course community via the internet in lockdown
Oh, right.
in
Yeah.
2020 or whatever it was.
Well, yeah, it's funny about that lockdown. In the USA, Texas and Florida refused the lockdown. They told the government, no, people can do what they want. So there wasn't a lockdown here. So I never actually went through the lockdown because it wasn't enforced. Texas said the people can do what they like. They refused the mandate, and so did Florida. Oh, and North Carolina did as well. They just said no. And while the rest of the world was in lockdown, here in Texas, we just went about our normal day, which was quite extraordinary, really. A- Anyway, we got
Yeah.
what we got here. The next paragraph. Bring then all forms of suffering to him who knows that everyone is like the rest. He sees no differences where none exists, and he will teach you how each one is caused. None has a different cause from all the rest, and all of them are easily undone but by a single lesson truly learned. Salvation is a secret you have kept but from yourself. The universe proclaims it so. Yet to its witnesses you pay no heed at all, for they attest the thing you do not want to know. They seem to keep it secret from you, yet you need but learn you chose but not to listen, not to see.
Wow, how
It's just
powerful
that's
is that?
beautiful. That is just putting across like the problem that the human race has with this. Like it can't be. It can't be that I'm causing this.
Yeah.
All this, I can't be doing all this. And it's easy to just be, oh, it must be happening. It's
Mm.
easy. And you can't blame people. I mean, I was like that for 50 years. I mean, I was always looking for the truth, but I didn't know where to find it. And I eventually found this in 2010. Yeah, when I was 55.
Wow.
Yeah. My God.
The secret to salvation is you but doing this to yourself, and then it says salvation is a secret you've kept but from yourself.
Yeah, because it's only you. It's only you, really. There's no one to keep it from you.
And the
You decided that
universe,
you don't want to hear it.
yeah, and then everything in your support actors, all justify it. All of your props and your scenery and the narrative and the script, it all just supports this idea that this is all being done to you. You're not doing it, and then it can keep going. But it can all be understood if you said, I've done this thing and it's this that I'd undo.
Yeah. Grabbing that, when you realize, grasp the secret you've been keeping from yourself. Wait a minute, I'm doing this
Yeah.
and I can undo it.
Mm,
You can change. You can change. Obviously, you can start thinking differently, realize that I'm not doing it. It ain't going to change overnight. I mean, the course takes years and years. When I first got the course and started to read about other people's experience, they were saying it took me 20 years to wake up and stuff like that. I thought, 20 years? I mean, I was thinking like, oh, I'll take a few months or something, because I've never heard of a book or a process that took 20 years, apart from the Druids who were supposed to do 40-year apprenticeships, which at the time I thought was a bit weird, but I digress. If it takes 20 years to wake up, but I'm on 16 years, my 16th year on with the course, and I've a different man than I was when I first. And that's it. I'm not saying I woke up, but I'll tell you something, I'm a different man. I mean, like I used to get angry about stuff. I used to get angry about back in the day, angry about the world, things that went on in the world,
mm,
But now it's just a dream.
mm,
I can't. I mean, like I don't sort of like wouldn't dismiss it. Like for people who believe it, I'll discuss it with them, But in my heart, I know I'm at the pictures, you know.
mm.
So
You reminded me of one of my guests, Maureen Muldoon. She said that when she was at one of Ken Wapnick's classes and he was trying to suss out the sort of people who were there, he said, right, anybody who's new to the course, anybody who's only had it for sort of 10 or 15 years, you sit over there. And she was like, oh my God, what sort of people are into a book that you're new to
Mm.
it? If you've had it for 10 or 15 years, what is all this?
Well, yeah. Well, trying to reverse the thinking of a lifetime don't happen overnight, does it?
No.
And also talking about dreams, like dreams, it makes people think of, their dreams at night, like there's an unreality, and they can't connect this with an unreality. The
Mm,
word illusion, even the word illusion itself, people tend to connect with illusionists, magicians, it's sort of
mm,
like not, it's an illusion
mm,
or an idea. It's more of an idea. We're within an idea of
mm,
separation rather
mm,
than like it's an illusion, but it's an idea.
mm,
But I think the best description of it I've read is somewhere in the course where he describes it as a distortion of truth.
mm,
Like we're actually in the truth, but somehow it's become
mm.
distorted, and we're thinking it's something that it's not. It's just a distortion. I think that's the most accurate, really, description I've heard. Well, to my way of thinking,
Yeah, I
anyway.
love
Like but
that. That
mm,
reminds me of like a Nisargadatta thing when he says it's only the real that has the capacity to recognize the unreal.
yeah, yeah. I mean, people in my dreams at night, are they thinking I'm in a dream? They don't know they're in a dream. They're just people in a dream. I just watch them. They just go about doing their thing.
Mm,
Incidentally, I made a video yesterday, which something struck me about Nisargadatta and these three things. We're saying like the experiencer. the experienced, and the experiencing are those three are one.
Mm.
Only the experiencing is true. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, how could I explain that? How could I put that across? And it occurred to me, like in my nighttime dreams, while you're watching the people in your dream or whatever situation's going on, they're not experiencing the experience, and there's the experience, and they are just pure experience. You're watching this experience going on, you know. And in reality, that's what we're doing. We're just experiencing a movie. It's just an experience. There's no experiencer or experienced. There's just the experience.
Wow.
And that's what it is. You wake up to find there was nothing but the experience itself. That's what it is.
That's what it is. Steve explains it simply again.
Well, it took a bit of thought. You know, I had to ponder on that. Mate, that actually a result of 16 years of thought, that is. uh, so we got the last one here. Now, do you want to read that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
How
So,
did
how differently will you perceive the world when this is recognized? When you forgive the world your guilt, you will be free of it. Its innocence does not demand your guilt, nor does your guiltlessness rest on its sins. This is the obvious, a secret kept from no one but yourself. And it is this that has maintained you separate from the world and kept your brother separate from you. Now need you but to learn that both of you are innocent or guilty. The one thing that is impossible is that you be unlike each other, that they both be true. This is the only secret yet to learn, and it will be no secret. You are healed. There's quite a bit to pick apart in there, mate, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
What jumps
Uh,
out at you straight away from that? Because I know which bit jumps out to me.
let's have a look. When you forgive the world your guilt, you'll be free of it. When you realize you're projecting it on,
Mm-hmm.
its innocence does not, like the world is innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you take, I've always said, if everybody in the entire world all lost their memories at a given signal,
Mm.
we would all stand exactly equal just as we are in oneness.
Mm.
Because there'd be no lives. It would just be, no matter what you're dressed or where you live in, if it took away the memory, everybody just standing there realizing that they're one in perfect love. You see? Its innocence does not demand your guilt, nor does your guiltlessness rest on it. When you forgive the world your guilt, you'll be free of it. Because if you just forget, it's like one of the simplest, one of the best lessons I learned from the course in the early days. But I realised I didn't have a past. But then if I ain't got no past, then neither has anybody else.
Mm.
You see, so any ideas you have about them or what they may or may have done to you, just forget it because they ain't got no past either. This is where it says this has maintained you separate. That's kept you separate from the world and kept your brother separate from you. You have to forget he doesn't have a past.
Yeah.
You know, you have to realise he has no past, same as you have no past. You now need you but to learn that both of you are innocent or guilty. The one thing is it possible to be unlike each other. I mean, in a dream, you're either innocent or guilty, I suppose. You're either one extreme or the other in a world of separation of perfect opposites.
But
But it's
also
impo
because you said that everybody in the dream, including the cat and dog and the grains of sand, are all made up of your projection of thoughts, it's impossible for you and your brother to be unlike each other.
exactly. It's exactly projecting everybody. Everybody's a projection of me. They can't be unlike each other.
Mm.
That's the secret to learn. And once you learn that wholly, then you're healed. That's what I like about that whole chapter. It is so complete.
It's
It's a
like the whole
complete,
course. It's like the
yeah.
entire course in a chapter
Mm.
is it a chapter? It's a
It's a chapter.
it's a
It's
section.
oh wait, I'm sorry. It's a section of a chapter.
Yeah.
I'll get
You're
you
looking
mixed
at
up
like
again. It's
about,
chapter 27, I think.
about 3 pages in chapter 27 is the whole course.
Yeah, chapter 27, the healing of the dream. Sorry, I've been calling it a chapter. It's actually a
No, I
section of
don't
the
think you have.
yeah.
You haven't been calling it a chapter consistently. I just thought it was worth. um,
Well, anyway, we know what we're
highlighting
talking
at that
about.
point. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, very good.
Mm,
Okay.
there's something somewhere that I wanted to just pull in, if I can find it. Okay, I'm going to just patch together a few things in Nisargadatta.
Okay.
The real sees the real in the unreal. It's the mind that creates the unreal, and it is the mind that sees the false as false. There's no such thing as the experience of the real. The real is beyond experience. All experience is in the mind. You know the real by being real. Happiness is never your own. It is where the I is not. I do not say it's beyond your reach. You only have to reach out beyond yourself and you will find it. The mind needs a center to draw a circle. The circle may grow bigger, and with every increase, there will be a change in the sense I am. A man who took himself in hand, a yogi, who will draw a spiral, yet the center will remain, however vast the spiral. A day comes when the entire enterprise is seen as false and is given up. The central point is no more, and the universe becomes the center. Put your awareness to work, not your mind. The mind is not the right instrument for this task. The timeless can be reached only by the timeless. Your body and your mind are both subject to time. Only awareness is timeless, even in the now. In awareness, you are facing facts, and reality is fond of facts.
Well, if reality is the only fact, isn't it really? I'll call it facts, facts. Yeah,
No opposite to truth. Well, beautiful.
that's right. The truth has no opposite. That's what he's more or less saying. Is you see the real with it goes like he continually teaches about getting back to awareness. See, people think they are the mind. I mean, I think I'm the mind. I always thought I was the mind. It's the course and Nisargadatta has taught me that I'm actually truth. In truth, I am the awareness of the mind.
Mhm.
The mind is like the workings of the ego, who conditions the mind to think there's a real world going on with me living in it and going about doing these things and needing these things to survive and getting upset about it and getting happy about it. This, that, and the other. And really, as I said before, it's just the spirit within observing the awareness of what's going on. Perfect happiness. Because nothing really disturbs it. It's like you go. We always talk about the analogy of the cinema. You go to the cinema, looking at the screen. No matter what goes on in the screen, you can get upset about it, you can grieve about it, laugh about it, But at the end of when the film's over, you just leave the cinema and forget all about it. You know in your hearts it wasn't real. You know in your hearts it was never real, even while you're watching it. But you allow yourself to interact with the film, to enjoy it, for it to become a reality to you. But really, it isn't anything. It's just to be aware of that fact.
So
That's what we're all.
to translate Stephen Dean, the translator, into course terminology, come back to saying that the real world is the platform where what we see is that everything is just for forgiveness. Every event, every character, every place, every moment, the purpose of everything is one purpose, and that is for forgiveness.
For forgiveness.
And the forgiveness that the Course teaches us is a perspective that leads towards truth and not away from truth. And it's where we don't overlay any meanings, any personal meanings onto anything that's happening. Because if we do that, we obscure the reality of what's really there. And with
That's
that
it.
forgiveness, then what happens is we spend more time in that place where we look at everything as it truly is. And that opens up the pathway for the voice for God to penetrate the dream and reach our conscious awareness in the present moment, and then come through our mouths. And we listen to that coming through our mouths. It travels to wherever it's meant to travel to. And then we undo our belief in the false through remembering what is real.
Well said. Couldn't have put it better myself.
Blimey, if Stephen Dean said that, I want it in writing. Couldn't have put it better myself.
That's pretty clear to me.
Brilliant. I'll get the t-shirt printed in the morning. It's pretty
Yeah,
clear
wear
to
it next
me.
time. I'd love to see it.
Excellent.
Okay.
Beautiful, my friend. I shall see you on our next get together.
Yeah, Luigi will be back next week, won't he?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, get your
Well, I've
crash
really
helmet.
enjoyed that, my friend. That was a lot of fun.
It
Really good.
was. Get your crash helmet on ready for Luigi's return.
All right, mate. I'll see you next time.
You take care now.
And you have a good one. I'll see you.
Bye.